Hi, welcome or welcome back to my channel, and I cannot believe that August is almost over. I felt like it went by so quickly, and it's weird because I've read a lot more than I usually have in the past maybe 2 to 3 months. It still felt like August went by super quickly. I'm really excited to jump into today's wrap up because I think we have a really good selection here. Most of these are in reading vlogs, so if you want like an in-depth reaction and how I felt about the book, definitely go check those out because I'm gonna just go through them really briefly. Yeah, let's just jump right in. So the first book I read in August was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This book blew up like a month and a half ago, and I had no idea what this book was, but I just saw it blowing up after I got the book and I was like, wow, Fairy Loot really timed this so perfectly. It is such a beautiful addition. This book is such a beautiful romantic story taking place in the late 1800s to the early 1900s with a fantasy backdrop. So I rated this book a 4.5. This book follows Iris and Roman. It's a dual POV where they are working at the same newspaper publishing company called the Oath Gazette. It starts off very cozy fantasy. It wasn't very high risk. You were just following her life. There's a lot that I want to say, but I know I shouldn't say because it ruins kind of like the vibe of the story that you should get while you're reading. So I don't want to spoil anything, but just know for the first maybe third of the book, it feels very cozy fantasy. It's building up the world. It's a lot of world building. That's exactly what I just said. But it's really beautifully written. It becomes more high stake along the way. What I really enjoyed about this book is the fact that it touches on the aspects of how war affects people on the front line and also just people at home, how war affects normal civilians, just everyone. I was not expecting to feel the emotions that I really did reading this book. I would say go into this book thinking that it's a romance with a fantasy backdrop rather than a fantasy with a subplot of romance. I'm sure we're gonna get a lot more of the romance in the second book that's coming out December 23rd, which I'm so excited for because this cliffhanger really got me. I'm so excited for that book. I had a really fun time reading this, and I'm really excited for the second book. Alright, up next, I ended up reading the Aruhara Ride manga. These are volumes 7 through 9. There's 13 in total, so I'm almost done. There's nothing really to say. It's a very young adult, just about friendship and romance. I was just getting really tired of one of the books that I was reading. So far right now, I think the series is a 4-star. Granted, I rate my mangas a little differently than full-blown books, so take that with a grain of salt. After that, I picked up The Hating Game by Sally Thorne again. This is a love story between Lucy and Josh. I don't know, it's a romance story, but if I'm being honest, I feel like they would be divorced within 5 years. I gave this book a 2-star. I feel so bad saying that because I know a lot of people love this book, but I really just didn't enjoy it. Lucy and Josh, they hate each other, right? They really dislike each other. When their two companies merged into one, they became executive assistants to co-CEOs, but they hate each other. Fair, I guess. You can hate whoever you want, but I didn't understand why they hated each other. They just did. And it felt really childish. It felt really immature. The way they acted towards each other in a workplace was so unrealistic. Like, if you are an adult at a full-time job in the office, you would not be acting like this. It just felt really unrealistic and cringy. They try to make it sarcastic and funny like a rom-com, but it just ended up being really cringy. The only thing that I can really think of why they hate each other is because Lucy is really bubbly, she's really colorful, she's really friendly to everyone, while Josh is really meticulous, strict, and just really straightforward. Let's just say everyone at work is scared of him, so they just don't like each other because of that. I didn't really connect with the characters. They felt really two-dimensional. The only time you really get more information on the backgrounds of these characters was the last quarter of the book where you learn more about Josh. Other than that, Lucy, she is what it is. She's an open book and she's really short, which brings me to the other topic. I really dislike this book because of the constant topic of how different they were in size. Like not even just personality or anything, but in size. She constantly was bringing up how small she was. It just made her extra small standing next to Josh because Josh was so tall and she's never had a boyfriend that was so tall. Blah blah. It was constant and it was so cringe. It was so bad. Every time she brought it up, I almost DNF'd this book. I really did, but I wanted to finish it because my best friend Janelle, she enjoyed it. She says she enjoyed the little romance towards the end, and so I was like, you know what, I'll make it to the end for you, bestie. I will try my best, and I did. I definitely got to the end. Yeah. I'm really excited to talk about the next two books. They are from the same series, and that is The Naturals and Killer Instincts by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. These are the first two books in the Natural series. There are 4 total. I am absolutely in love with this series. It's Criminal Minds meeting the YA world. I rated the first book a 4.25 and then the second book a 4.5. So the series follows a group of teenagers, young adults, who have really specific skills. The FBI has a program where they recruit these, for lack of a better word, kids that have these skills to help solve cold cases and also active cases. What skills do they have? Well, basically profiling. If you just imagine Criminal Minds replace the agents with teenagers. So they're profiling criminals, but they're also characters like Spencer Reed, who is super statistically smart. There's a character that is a lie detector. She's able to tell by your facial expressions and your body language if you're lying. These really specific skills that they learned over time to be able to survive their own lives, which is really interesting. And I won't go too deep into that because obviously spoiling. Just know that these characters have reasoning behind how they are able to do what they do. Obviously, you are born with a skill, but you wouldn't use that skill unless you needed to and you really honed into it. There's just something about Jennifer Lynn Barnes' writing that really just makes you constantly read. She has such a fast-paced writing style. The chapters are short, and every time you finish a chapter, you just want to go on to the next one because there's a new question that you want answered. Both her series now have brought me out of a reading slump. Tomorrow, actually, she's doing a book signing in the city, and I got tickets for it, and I'm so excited because it is the 4th book in the Inheritance Games series, and I'm so freaking excited. Keep an eye out for a reading vlog for that because I will definitely be doing one of those. Alright, so the next one I picked up, The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This is also a Fairy Loot edition. It is gorgeous. I ordered this because I just could not get over how pretty this edition was. Even though I didn't really like the Cruel Prince series, I wanted to give this one a try. So for this one, you are jumping back into the Elfame world. My expectations weren't very high, but I was so pleasantly surprised. I ended up rating this book a 4-star. This book follows characters that we meet in the Cruel Prince series, so for you guys that haven't read that series, I'm not going to say the character names just in case so I don't spoil anything for you. We follow the POV of the FMC. I really enjoyed the characters so much more. They were so much more fleshed out. The background story really built up the reasoning why they are the way they are. They were just more interesting, and I saw the romance as more realistic. If you guys don't know what this book is about, it is FMC trying to escape and live on her own in the woods, being a nomad and just kind of have no home to go back to. And then she meets MMC and he needs her help. They end up going to the north and they're enemies. I can't tell you why they're enemies, but they're enemies and they end up being lovers, obviously. But then towards the end, the ending, the cliffhanger, everything, oh my god, it screamed enemies to lovers, but then also still screamed enemies, and it was so good. It was so good. It started off okay, got a little bit boring, but that ending really pushed the rating up because I am so excited to read the second book for this. Next up, I picked up The Love Wager by Lynn Painter, Miss Lynn Painter, the queen, the author of Better Than the Movies, one of my favorite romance books. I had such high expectations for this book, and it has a really fun concept. So it's a one-night stand to besties to lovers. There was so many tropes in this that it was so fun. There's a fake dating trope in this. It was a lot of fun, but I ended up rating this a 3.5, and I'll get to it. I'll get to why. This book follows Hallie. She is kind of a free spirit. She's really sarcastic. She's fun. fun and really bubbly. One day she ends up meeting Jack and they end up having kind of a one-night stand. They hook up, basically. The next morning, she's like, oh my god, I'm doing the walk of shame at my ripe age of, I don't know how old they are. But she's like, I can't be doing this. I need to get my life together. So she wants to turn a new leaf. She ends up getting a new apartment. She gets a new job. She changes her hair. And before you guys say anything, this is all in the back, so I'm not spoiling anything. I promise you I'm not spoiling anything. So she ends up downloading a dating app because she wants to find her one true love, someone that she can finally marry and settle down with. That's when she ends up matching with Jack, her one night stand guy, and they end up kind of just chatting and poking fun at the situation. Lynn Painter does really good banter and dialogue. It was a lot of fun. It was really easy to read through because a lot of it was dialogue. But yeah, they meet on this app, end up saying, hey, let's have a wager and see who can find their love first. Winner gets a prize. If the date goes bad, we can go to one of my favorite taco places and talk about the date. Now, if you ask me, that sounds like a date, right? Absolutely, that sounds like a date. So they end up just being super in denial about their feelings for each other, but it's cute because they kind of become best friends and so comfortable with each other that it's so natural to them. They don't even realize that they have feelings for each other until things take a turn. It was fun. It was really simple. I didn't really connect with the characters, but I liked Lynn Painter's writing. I liked the dialogue and I did enjoy the characters. What I really just did not like was the fact that there was a last act conflict, gigantic last act conflict that just made me really upset. And this one kind of upset me because obviously I knew the conflict was coming because it wasn't talked about until then. Why did we leave it till then? And why did it blow up so big? And why was it in the last 30 pages of the book? I think a 3.5 is still a good rating, and I did giggle and kick my feet a lot. Alright, I feel like we're going through this pretty quickly. Next up, we have the Mindfuck series. This book contains all 5 books in the series. This is a Kindle Unlimited series, so if you are interested and have Kindle Unlimited, definitely check that out. I've heard so many good reviews on it, and I thought the concept was really interesting, so I knew that I would like it enough to have the physical book. But oh man, was this series a trip. This is basically a dark romance between an FBI agent and a serial killer. I rated this entire series a 4.25. That's the average rating. This is also a dual POV. We have Lana Myers, our queen, who is the serial killer, and then we have Logan, who is an FBI agent who is trying to solve her murders. So we have an FBI agent trying to catch her, but then ends up dating her without realizing. How fun is that? Before I jump into the rest of this series, I want to tell you that there are trigger warnings. Definitely look up the trigger warnings. Just as a brief one, there is SA talk and a lot of deep descriptions. So if you are not comfortable with that, definitely be careful because it does go into a lot of description. It could be really, really triggering. So just be safe. Just be safe. I will say the romance fell a little flat sometimes. It felt really instant lovey, but at some point I wasn't reading for the romance anymore because the story itself was so thrilling and so gripping. I just wanted to know about the story. The romance I just pushed aside. I started this book for the dark romance between them, but then I ended up just not caring about it. They are cute. I don't know, the story, the plot itself was so much more interesting and it just really gripped me. I read all 5 of the books, which ends up being like over 600 pages within like 3 days. I enjoyed it so much. And what really changed my mindset with this series was one of the dedications that the author wrote, because originally I felt like this was a little bit too shock value-esque, but this dedication that I read was the reason why I kind of changed my mind. Okay, so this dedication is from St. Abby herself. This kind of really opened up to a lot of conversation in my head, being like, this could be good for some people, even though it is a little triggering for others. But let me just read it for you. This is for the ones who lost their voice. This is for the ones who wish they could be Lana Myers. This is for the ones people still whisper about. This is for the ones who fight every single day to forget. You're not alone. And if you read the books, you'll understand what like that really entails. Up next is Twin Crowns by Catherine Doyle and also Catherine Weber. There are two authors. And this is a dual POV a dual POV as well. So you have twins. God, why is it so hard to describe this book when it's such a simple concept? So they're twins. One of them gets kidnapped by witches. And in the future, when they're like 18, 17, 18, the twin that was stolen by the witches comes back and tries to reclaim her throne because she doesn't trust anyone else to protect the people that raised her. And then you have the princess that was raised in the castle. Her name is Rose. She ends up getting kidnapped by the witches. So Ren could take her place, coming into the palace, pretending to be Rose until she has a crown on her head and she is queen. This is a really simple fantasy read. There aren't really like twists and turns. You get what you get. It's really surface level. You're basically following the two girls as they learn their family history and what happened in the past. I rated this a 3.5. I liked it. It was simple. You don't need a lot of brain power to read it, and the ending got me intrigued to know about the second book. It's not a dire need to read the second book, but I will probably pick it up one of these days. It's Freaky Friday meets Twitches. So the book I read after Twin Crowns was Brutal Prince, and I read that on my Kindle. This book, guys, this book is a forced marriage between two members of the Italian and Irish mafia. It's set in Chicago. It was a lot more political than mafia. I went into this thinking it was more mafia, but it was just a lot of political stuff. I rated this book a 2-star. I feel like a lot of people are gonna hate me because of this, because I think Brutal Prince is a really popular book and the Birthright series is a really popular series, but I couldn't get behind it. You know, I really just could not get behind it. It is also a dual POV following Callum and Ada. Ada is from the Italian mafia gang and Callum is from the Irish mafia gang. They're forced into a marriage after an incident. It feels very Wattpad-y. The romance is really flat. To put it simply, it goes from hating each other to loving each other so quickly, it gave me whiplash. There was no plot whatsoever. At least I didn't feel like there was a plot. Things were handled so quickly and there was no dwelling in the conflict or anything. Things just always got resolved perfectly. I will say that it was fun to read sometimes. They are fun characters to read, especially Ada. She's kind of snarky and she stands up for herself and she's fun to read, but dear God, did I hate Cal. I really did not like Callum. He was really misogynistic and just the way his POVs hurt, man. I rather have had just Ada's POV and not known what he was thinking, because reading his thoughts were so painful sometimes. He just goes from degrading her and underestimating her to worshipping her. I don't know, Cal was just not the good book boyfriend. He's not book boyfriend material. I just did not vibe with Callum. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna pick up the other books, but you guys let me know. Let me know if the other books in the series get better, because this first one was just not doing it for me. With that out of the way, we go to the last book that I read for the month of August, and that is Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. And guys, this is the third book in the Magnolia Parks universe. So you have Magnolia Parks, Daisy Hates, and then you have this one. This takes place a year later from the events taking place in the first Magnolia Parks books, and I'm not gonna go deep into it, not gonna spoil it for you guys, but for you guys that don't know what this series is about, it's about rich people, it's about relationships, and drama. Originally, I thought these relationships were really toxic, but after reading this book, you get a lot of insight on character background and why they act the way they act and why they make the decisions that they do, even though they know that they're mistakes and they shouldn't be doing this. Like, they are conscious enough to know that they're bad decisions, but they still make it. So you learn why they do this and why they hurt each other and hurt the people around them consciously yet also unconsciously. It's so much to take in. It is so heartbreaking yet so heartwarming. Like, you will be so happy, sad, angry, and irritated, and just every emotion you can think of, you will feel it in this book. I think a lot of people want their main characters to be perfect and heroes and just flawless, but I think when an author is able to make you fall in love with characters that have a lot of flaws, it says a lot about the author and it says a lot about the book. Yes, these characters are really flawed. They know they're flawed. We know they're flawed, but there's just something about them in the world that is so breathtaking and lovable that you just cannot get enough. Like, I could not get enough of this. I am so fully invested in the Magnolia Parks universe now. I will be getting the new covers. Originally, I did not like the new covers, but I think I'm just so invested in the universe now that I want the new covers. They are suddenly the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Call me simple-minded, but whatever. I love this book. I gave this book a 5-star if it wasn't clear enough, but honestly, this would end up being a 6, 7, 1 bajillion star reading. I thoroughly enjoyed it. This book broke my heart. The cliffhanger broke me. I am still broken. I still think about it. It has me in a chokehold. That is what it is. But I really, really love this book. And I highly recommend. If you like Gossip Girl, highly recommend. Alright, so my camera battery is about to die, so I'm gonna make this quick. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my really quick wrap up, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.